Hey everybody, before we get started with today's episode, I just wanted to let you know that if you didn't know, did you know that you could save 20% off your purchase from Arcadia Publishing? That's right, you can use checkout code Haunted Vermont and get 20% off your entire order. Otherwise, you can use our special link, arcadiapublishing.com/Haunted Vermont and purchase through there. Any way will help support not only Arcadia Publishing, but it will also support us here at Haunted Vermont. Now, enjoy the program. Welcome everybody to an episode of Beyond Haunted Vermont, and today we have another special guest joining us for the third time now. We got author, paranormal investigator, and basically all things awesome when it comes to the paranormal, really. I'm trying to figure out where else I'm going with this, but Tom can kind of, I guess, briefly indicate himself in case you have not heard Tom before. But here is none other than Thomas D'Agostino, or Tom for short. Tom, welcome aboard.
Thanks. Well, great thing. Once again, it's awesome to be on.
Well,
definitely
Tom,
talk with you guys and have fun.
Yeah, in this case, I feel like I don't have much notes for this one because obviously, this is one of those battles where I don't think you really hear about it that much during school. You hear about like the French and Indian War, but you don't really hear about King Philip War, maybe because it was like close to 100 years before the French Indian War. So this is like 1675, whereas if memory serves right, French and Indian War was like 1754, somewhere around that neighborhood.
Yeah, the big battles were 1754. They were being fought with the French and the Indians way before that. But yeah, the big, I guess the giant crescendo of these battles took place around the 1750s. Yeah, the war, King Philip's War, actually was the bloodiest war ever fought on this soil, and per capita, per people, it was also the worst, because basically the people were not going to battlefields and saying, okay, I got my army, you got your army, let's fight. They were trying to annihilate each other's race. Right. So they weren't going onto a big battlefield and shooting at each other and saying, now leave the people alone. They were raiding villages and killing the women, the children, the old people, everything. They just wanted to wipe out each other race on this land.
Well, yeah, because I mean, the white settlers were eventually trying to take over, whereas the native, I guess you could say, they wanted the land because, one, they've been there longer than the white settlers, and two, like, they know the land better than the white settlers or something. Maybe that comes into play more, but I know it's just, the native respected the land more than like what the white settlers were trying to do. I think it would be
like when the Pilgrims landed here and they made Massasoit, which means great chief, and Edward Winslow became best friends. He even saved Massasoit's life, and they had a pact for 50 years where they worked together with everything, very, very friendly. But when Massasoit died and Ed Winslow died, Ed Winslow's son Josiah was not as nice. And he was, okay, you know what, we want more land. We want more land. We got more people coming. We want more land. And he used all kinds of dubious and devious ways of taking their land, from saying, hey, you want some rifles or something, you can pay us, but give us your land as collateral. And then he'd say, okay, I want the money now. He'd kind of mortgage type thing. And then all of a sudden he'd call in the mortgage and say, we want it, or we want the land. and they didn't have the money, so they'd have to give the land up, and to a point where they were starving. There was no more hunting grounds. They actually had to raid cattle in farms in some cases, or starve to death. And Philip or Metacom, uh, he made the name Philip, and his brother Wamsutta put the name Alexander to the English so they could communicate better. He went to the Plymouth colony and said, "Look, you can't do this. We don't have any more land. We need to eat." And they go, "Well, you want food? You can buy some or give us more land." So it was a very that was it. It was a lose-lose situation. So he got the Confederation together. He got a whole bunch of people together and said, "We need to do something about this. We need to get our land back." Eventually, and then his brother, who went to Plymouth to answer some questions on things, gets poisoned dies on the way home of poisoning, and then that was immediately Philip was like, "Okay, you know what? This is not good at all. We know that they poisoned my brother," and then he never trusted them again and then Sassaman, John Sassaman, who was a liaison between the two, the English and the indigenous people, he was found murdered, and they blamed some of Philip's council. They tried and executed them without Philip having anything to say about it. And he's like, "These are my people. You don't do that." So enough was enough. And they attacked Swansea. And the Indians at first, what they did is they'd wait till the people were at church, and then they try to ransack the village. But when there were a few people who were home or saw what happened, they started firing at the Indians. The Indians fired back, and it just started to become raids like that. At first, they were very superstitious. They would not hurt any person who was not armed. So it was kind of they meant to just take their land back, and they were going to do it by a little bit of force, but then it just turned out to be an all-out free-for-all.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of reading before we started this, just a little bit, and yeah, it just so a couple of things that you mentioned. I just want to go back to just in case you know the answer, maybe not. I mean, obviously you guys made a book on this, but during the research, and plus you kind of made the comment that it's like one of the most bloodiest war on the soil. Now, we normally, when we hear the phrase "the bloodiest war," most of us kind of tend to go to like the Civil War area. Now, I don't know, like, is there a comparison between King Philip War here to like that Battle of Gettysburg, basically, that was known as the bloodiest battle anyway? Like, did it come close to that?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, actually, people, historians have compared the amount of people per capita who were killed in America's famous battles and things like that. And I don't have the things right on me, but according to it, like there was almost twice as many people killed per capita in King Philip's War than there was in the Civil War.
Oh my God!
And it was both sides too. You got to figure too. The Narragansett one was completely wiped out. At the same time, the indigenous peoples burned Deerfield a couple of times, burned Providence, burned here, burned there. Whole villages, and they would just women and children, both sides. So,
what a mayhem! Going back to school, learning like about the battles and stuff, I just remember one of the reports I had to do was the Civil War, and obviously I kind of got into learning about the war mainly just because of the Civil War, as of it being the bloodiest battle of Gettysburg, but yada yada yada. But the point to this is like I was saying, when you hear that phrase kind of mentioned with the bloodiest battles around, you kind of, it's almost like your brain just triggered to go to Civil War, if that makes any sense.
It does, because that's what we've learned so much, and it's been, in modern day too, you got all these kinds of movies and all these things that you have the reenactors every year, and of course it's haunted every 5 years. So it's constantly being brought up somewhere. The only reason they probably put this one out of the school textbooks is because of the fact of how gross it was, how gruesome it was, because they were just going into houses and killing the women, the children, or going into the teepees, whatever, their homes, and killing the women and children, and just brutally burning them alive, or shooting them, or whatever. Hatchets, they called them knocking them on the head, where they nail them over the head with a hatchet.
Oh, jeez. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the best thing to learn when you're in the second grade.
Oh God, no! Oh God, no! You don't want to learn that children were murdered, and especially nowadays with the
just the way they did it was very brutal too. Very brutal. It wasn't just like, okay, give them poison. It was let's send a message.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah, I mean, I know we kind of learned about later on where they gave. I think it was the measles blanket, or measles blanket, basically to wipe out the Indians in that area of time in school. But as far as this case for poison, do you know, as you were saying, they poisoned King Philip's brother? So was it food, water, all of it? Were they just trying to poison everything?
No, because the settlers also relied on it. So if the English tried to poison, the fear was that it'd come back on them too. For the most part, I think at one point there was reports of them in small pockets actually trying to send disease to them. Like you said, the measles blankets and everything. By then, a lot of the tribes in the areas of New England, a lot of these people were also immune to it, because these diseases came a long time before. When the Pilgrims first got there, there was the Spanish and other Portuguese and other people who had come here and brought these diseases, which we're naturally, the Europeans were naturally impervious to. It's like, oh, I'm sick, you'll get over it in 2 days, and they weren't immune at all. So they were already aware of that, and some were already actually immune. But there was the basically thing. It was just, we don't want them to happen in the long term. We just get rid of them now. And most of the time, these battles took place because it was a brutal fight that had to happen right then. It was, one against the other, and there was no, hey, let's send them a gift with a, a doll with, chicken pox all over it.
Yeah, right. So I guess I'm trying to figure out, where we can go from here, because obviously I'd like to learn more about the history just a little bit, but I also know we're not really here for we're here for a history lesson that makes sense of why there's haunted. Yeah. So I guess I'm trying to think here. So one of the things that I was reading, which is pretty well known, because they call it one of the most oldest battle monuments, which is for the 9 men's oh man, I forget
misery,
now what they call it. The 9 men's misery. Thank you.
Yes. That
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that. So that was almost like an execution, wasn't it, of 9 men?
Oh, it was an execution of a whole party. Michael Pierce's party was looking for Canonchet, and they were wandering amok, and they were in the early morning hours. They come across these Indians who were wounded, right? So they're like, oh my God, look, there's some wounded warriors. Michael Pierce, not even thinking, he goes rushing after them, and we got an easy target here. And they came out of the woodwork. I think it was almost 8-1. Canonchet's men and all the other whoever, just that whole army of warriors, and they just started attacking. Michael Pierce had his, and then he had the converted, what they called the converted or Christian Indians, some with him, and he fell early in the fight. They just started. I mean, they wiped them all out, and at some point, some of the Michael Pierce's warriors, they painted their faces black and looked like they were part of the other ones, and so they could get away. And some got away. Some of Pierce's men got away, but they were mostly all annihilated. So the 9 that were captured were brought to an area which is now Cumberland, Rhode Island, and that's where they were dispatched, as they called it. They were found later and buried in that spot. They figured it was the Rehoboth militia because of the one man, Benjamin Buckland, who stood like over 6-something feet, 6'8" or something, and he had 2 rows of teeth. And they found his skeleton, of course, among them. But ever since then, they made a battle monument. They made a monument after they buried him later on, and then they erected a plaque. The people hear the screams. They hear what sounds like the battle going on, or at least an execution going on. They hear the voices. They actually have seen a ghost rider on a horse, the ghost of a child, because the area was also a farm, so maybe a child died on the farm, and the area could be one of those places that holds energy. It may not necessarily have been a remnant of the war, but she's seen near the swamp. And it's basically just a very, very cool haunted area right in the middle of the woods of the Cumberland Monastery.
Huh. Now, swamp, do you mean the Hockomock swamp?
No, there's a little swamp right next to the Cumberland Monument. There's a little swampy area right next to the Nine Men's Misery Monument. And and they only know of a few names, because I have a book written, and it's all the people who served in King Philip's War from Massachusetts. And when the letter came of the people they found dead there, it was ripped and torn and everything. And so they only had like a few names, like Benjamin Buckland and a few other names. So they never knew all of the names of the people. They knew about 3.
Oh man.
Yeah,
that's when you find a piece of paper that unfortunately kind of torn or badly ruined from something.
The names would when somebody wrote down who it was that had died, and then they went to send it to the powers that be for the English, but by the time it got there, it was so badly mutilated.
Yeah, well, I mean, back in that day, that would ride in a horse, so to basically deliver messages. So yeah, I mean, and we also hear stories of those type of messengers where they didn't have it easy too. They got shot at and everything else. I'm sorry.
There was a guy who was supposed to send. He went running back to to try and get backup for Pierce's army, because he said, we're going to need some backup. But he was compelled to go to Sunday services first, because that was Sabbath day and that's what you had to do. And well, by the time he got the message out, Pierce's men had already been annihilated. A bit ridiculous, I know.
Yeah, it is ridiculous, but that's the way it was.
Probably why they still haunt the area.
Probably. Or it's because maybe they just still think it, or they're still fighting, I guess. Or I don't know, something. Do we know, Tom? Like, because there's obviously, I think we talked about this before the first time you came on, but do we know, is it more like a residual haunting where it's almost like a record player, record playing over and over of what's going on? From the way you're talking, it sounds like it is in a way.
Yeah, it is. That's what it seems to be, because it just pops up and everything, and there's no real, you don't have too much of an intelligent, answers. In other words, you don't see them coming and say, look what happened here and things like that. So most of the time it just happens when it happens. So that would be residual more than anything.
Right. It's not like you're asking a question and you're actually getting a response to that question that you asked, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, John Lowe, John Miller Jr., John Fitz Jr., and Benjamin Buckland were the only soldiers that they could identify by the ripped up paper.
Oh,
and
jeez.
and so it happened. Like, well, you could be standing there and all of a sudden you hear it. It's not waiting for you. It could be happening all the time, and it's in the middle of the woods, so no one's there to hear it. If a ghost screams in the woods, who's there to hear? Can anybody hear it?
Well, that's like that saying, it's a tree falls.
Yep. Doesn't make a sound.
Yeah, doesn't make a sound. Yeah. Okay, Tom. Well, I'm trying to think where to even go from this, man. Like, I guess you're going to be the conductor on this one, I guess. Like,
well, yeah, we found a ton of places, actually. It was pretty cool because it's a very thorough book, and the Ghost of King Philip's Warren. We have Rhode Island, Connecticut. It goes all the way up to Maine in some cases, and there's really cool sites that are still being visited by not only the living but the dead. There's plaques and monuments, and like you were talking about the ghost dog, which is one of our favorites. And that was. I mean, it's so weird because this plaque or monument is this little thing sitting on the front of this guy's lawn. Edward Bobbitt, like you said, remember when they knew that the attacks were imminent, so they'd all go to a garrison or a specially fortified fort or house, and there'd be a militia there, the English militia, to protect all the residents who went there. And this one guy, he went out and he brought his family there, Edward Bobbitt, and then he realized, let me go get some more provisions. So he took his rifle and his dog, and they went and they got to the house and did it. But on the way back, they were seen, and there was too many for him to shoot at because don't forget you had to load. Back then. I mean, if you could load and shoot within 30 seconds, man, you were a sharpshooter. So he went and he hit up a tree, but the dog gave him away, and they killed him. And they found the body later, and they buried him. But forever and ever, this is right in Berkeley, Massachusetts. There's people hear a dog near the Berkeley Bridge, barking as if as if either sad because he gave his master away, or still reliving that moment when the Indians got him and his master.
Right. Yeah, I think I was reading basically the dog surrounded the tree that he was in. They started firing. They killed him there, and then I think I heard something about they in a way mutilated his body or something. Just to
that was a common thing they did. Yeah, that was a common thing they did to strike fear into the English. Was to mutilate the body, cut off the heads, and hang them on poles. And the English didn't do much better either. So between the two of them, they had their own ways. English would burn the villages while the people were still in it. There was a lot of look, let's send a message, but it was just all out murder.
Right. So you mentioned Deerfield before, where they attacked it. I think you said 3 times, basically. Now, is that from? I know we were talking about it a little bit off the air beforehand, but are we talking like they were using the carts to set on fire, or set them on fire and kind of roll them into the house? Or
yes, that was a common tactic because the garrisons. They was really hard for them to fire into the garrisons in many cases because there was deep walls and the distance between, of course you've got the militia English firing back, so it was very lucky if you could run up close and get a shot in, and no one was going to be near the windows anyway, so you're basically firing into a wall. They could all be, lying on the floor upstairs. So what they would do is they'd get a cart and they'd fill it with hay, and then they'd light it on fire and they'd roll it into the building in hopes that the building would catch fire. And in cases it did. That was it was a tactic. In one case, it hit, which was I think in Brookfield, it hit a rock and tumbled over, so that didn't work. But yeah, Deerfield they attacked a few times. It was one time where near Bloody Brook, which was one of the worst massacres of the war, where the garrison was in one area, and they said, "Well, let's go get some fortifications. Let's go get some food. Let's go get some stuff." And they took some what they called they had 67 militiamen and some what they called wagoners, cart drivers, teamsters for the wagons. And they went out and they got some food. They were doing, and they stopped and they said, "Oh, look, we can pick some berries." They put their guns in the cart and started picking these blueberries and everything. And unknown to them that there was a whole bunch of warriors waiting for them. And they just came out of the woods, and there was nothing they could do. I mean, they didn't even have their guns.
Right. Yeah. It was basically a planned ambush attack. Yeah.
And that was another thing that they were great at, the warriors. They were great at leading them into ambushes because they did know the territory, like you said.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, who else knows the land better than the original, the original founders, or, the original people, the natives, I guess.
Right.
I don't even know a good word for that. The original people that lived there, I guess. Jesus. I mean, they're gonna hunt it, fish it, everything. They're gonna know it top to bottom. So.
Oh, right.
Yeah. When it comes to Deerfield, though, so we're talking Massachusetts, and then I know this might be a different discussion for another time, Tom, but isn't Deerfield part of what we now would call the Bridgewater Triangle? So that must have some weird events going on as well, right?
Well, Deerfield's in western Massachusetts, and the Bridgewater Triangle is in southeastern Massachusetts.
South,
and that actually was the hot spot of King Philip's War. That was that was, I guess you could call it almost the hub of all activity going on. And that's very, very, very haunted, very big area. Consisting of several towns, well, more than several towns, and there's a lot going on there. The Hockomock Swamp, and because a lot of battles took place there, and the creatures, and it probably was known before even the English settlers and the white settlers came there. It was known as a magical place before that. So.
Right. I'm just trying to remember what I was reading, though, that was in the description of your Ghost of King Philip War. So I think that might be why when you said swamp earlier, that's probably why I went right to Hockomock. Oh, yeah, it's right here. Take a trip to Hockomock Swamp where ghosts and strange creatures roam among the tricket. And then that's all it says for that one. So, yeah, so maybe that's what I was thinking of when you were saying swamp beforehand.
The Hockomock Swamp is kind of cool because it's 16,950 acre wetland.
Yeah.
And it's in six towns or something, yeah.
Yeah, six or seven towns, yeah.
Yeah, and that is, so many things took place there. They still see indigenous spirits walking the area. They still see ghostly campfires. There's the Freetown State Forest is near there in the Bridgewater Triangle. There is so many things there that Chris Balzano wrote 2 books basically on it.
That's right. Yeah, Ghost of the Bridgewater Triangle and Dark Woods, I think.
Yes, Dark Woods, exactly. Now, when you can write a couple of books on an area like that, you certainly got a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
And we covered a lot of it, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing I think that we can, let's finish up a little bit of the story of a little bit, I guess, of King Philip, because, I know it has a brutal ending to this, and I don't want to give, all the battles away, obviously, for the most part, but I think one that kind of really sticks out to me from what I was reading, because we kind of heard this similar to, the infamous, emperor, should I even say? I can't even think of the year right now, but oh God, I hope I don't even butcher his name. But I'm talking like Valid the Impaler.
Oh yeah, Vlad the Impaler. Yep,
Vlad,
yep.
yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
God, I
yeah,
always
yeah.
screw up
He
his
would
first name.
yeah the Dragul Order of the Dragul. He was Dragula, which means son of the dragon. And yeah,
Yep.
he was one of those people. But he was brutal though. He had he built a giant building and he invited all the poor in there so they could have a great time and a free meal, and he burned it with all of them in it. And then he had this beautiful, I think it was silver or gold chalice that he put on the town square, and anyone could grab it if they wanted, and it was never touched.
Yeah, never touched.
Not even a fingerprint.
Yeah, and I think I want to bring him up just because basically the fate of King Philip is basically what this guy used to do though when he used to go to battle. He would just you know mutilate the bodies and decapitate the heads and then just put them on a spike. Which
Mm.
unfortunately that's exactly what happened with King Philip in the end, where he I guess. In a brief terminology here, you can kind of go into it more probably just to help me better understand. So he basically, I don't know what I want to say, forfeits, but he basically gets overrun, and they decapitate him, and then they pretty much use his head as the example for the next 20 years on a spike, basically.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, what happened was he went back to his home in Mount Hope. He actually had a dream the night before that he was going to die. He actually had a dream, and he wanted to return to his home if it was going to be so. And he was
Wow.
there with some scouts, and they were. And what happened was, church wanted to take him alive so he could answer to the war crimes. But one of
Oh,
Philip's men saw something in the woods, and he shot at it, or the one of Church's men saw. Oh, the one of Church's men saw Philip's men see him, and he
oh,
fired, and the melee began, and Philip started running towards. To attack. He wasn't. He knew he was
right.
going to go down fighting, and he was killed by one of his own kind. And then they chopped him up. They literally chopped him into pieces. They quartered him. They threw him in different compass directions. They say so your spirit can never rest. And then they took his head and they brought it to Plymouth and they hung it on a pole. And you're right, for 25 years, some say 20, some say 25 years, it hung on a pole. But it also hung on a pole with a few other of his warriors, like Chief Anawan and everything. But his stayed there forever and ever. In fact, I think it was Cotton Mather who took the jawbone. They actually had birds nesting in the skull, making a nest
Oh,
in the skull.
wow.
Yeah, yeah.
I was also reading they they chopped off his hand. They sent one to Boston, and they sent another one somewhere in New England. I don't
They
know.
gave it. They gave it to the guy who shot him. Uh,
I'll give it to the guy who shot him. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Alderman. Yeah, they actually presented it when yeah, it's kind of funny because we went to the area where he was killed, the spot. They put a little marker up there because it's haunted, but it's in the middle of the woods, middle of nowhere. And if you can, it's kind of funny because they could be like, running around there screaming and yelling and everything, and no one's going to hear it. Yeah, so they gave it to John Alderman. That was the guy's name. He took on a Christian name, and he went around showing it, in a bucket of
Oh,
alcohol or something for money. And then he finally presented it to. He gave it to the Plymouth. He sold it to the Plymouth Colony, actually. But yeah, he
oh,
was going around. That's
wow.
how he made a few bucks by showing people King Philip's hand
Wow.
in the
If
belt.
that's not a way to make a statement, I don't know what is. What's that?
Yeah, I know, huh? Yeah, and King Philip's belt and everything, and all his dress disappeared. It was supposed to go to England, but it never made it. And nobody to this day, it's supposedly a mystery where it went.
Hmm. Yeah. Well,
Someone
clearly
could be,
somebody just
yeah,
didn't want to give it away. Yeah.
Somebody could be using it to, like, tie their curtains up or something.
Oh yeah,
There's an old family heirloom. I don't know where it came from. But
yeah.
his ghost, Philip's ghost, is everywhere too. He haunts a lot of places. I'm sure residual, but there's got to be one place where he's actually active as person.
I was gonna say, well, so you mentioned Maine. I guess I'm curious as to why way up in Maine, I guess.
Well, because the Plymouth colony extended up to the Kennebec, and that was pretty cool. And although sparse, New Hampshire and Plymouth going all the way up that way, they were getting raided. The King Philip War supposedly ended in 1676 with the death of Philip. However,
Right.
raids and things were happening in 1678 when the Treaty of Casco actually in Maine took place, but they were still happening after that. All right. A lot of people, obviously there were no newspapers and they didn't have a TV set to turn on the news and go, war's over, guys, go home.
Right.
So, things were still happening in up in Maine in that area. There was Massacre Pond and these places like that where they were still doing raids on both ends.
Right.
And Queen Anne's War, which took place, around 1704, the Deerfield was raided again. And Queen Anne's War to me was just a extension of King Philip's War, because after King Philip's War, most of these indigenous people went north towards Canada. And then the French were like, hey, you want to get them back? Let's all go together. So, So to me, it's like King Philip's War never really ended, even though there was a treaty. It was never really acknowledged, and especially the English, they were supposed to give back land, and they were supposed to, give them corn and say, okay, you still got this many acres, you can have it, but you got to give some back to some of your produce to the indigenous people. And they were like, screw that, ain't doing that. So things kept happening.
Right. I guess from your research, Tom, would you have any indication as to when you think it actually quote ended?
Sometime around 1710, everything calmed down a bit to the point where leaders said, okay, look, you know what, let's just get along. Most of the indigenous people were gone by then. The French, they were kind of beat. The English kind of sent them all back. And it kind of calmed down for a while until, like you said, the next French and Indian campaign. But about then, I'd say around 1710, boom, you can pretty much call it the end of the war. 1706 maybe, but 1704, the Deerfield raids and all that were because of that still. This time the French were in there. The indigenous people got the French to join them.
What a way to go, I guess.
Yeah, imagine that though. Living in a town, you're never safe. You have like a barricade in the fort. The guy falls asleep at the fort or whatever, the guards, and the next thing you know, boom! There's like hundreds and hundreds of warriors and French soldiers down on you, and they just take whatever. They're just kicking the doors in and hatcheting people and taking who they can prisoner. They'd march them to Canada and they'd ransom them, just like during King Philip's War. They'd ransom the English. They took Mary Rowlandson, a famous a preacher's wife, and the daughter died because she was shot in the hand, but she was ransomed at a place called Redemption Rock, which is haunted. You can read about that in the book. And Philip was there, and he was against it, but they did give them food, clothing, and rifles for Mary Rowlandson, and she wrote a book. And that book is the greatest example of capture and redemption in American history, and it's still in print.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out where to go from this, Tom. I mean, mainly right now for me, it's like a history lesson, The
subject is so amazing. We didn't know anything about it. I never even, like you, I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't care too much, and it happened right in our original home state and everything, and all of a sudden I'm saying, I'd like to do that, ghosts, King Philip's War, it's unknown. And we just went nuts, and it was amazing. I mean, there are books and books written on it, and Ghosts of King Philip's War. Edward Lodi wrote a small book on some of the haunts, popular ones. But we went everywhere, and I got to tell you, there's 30-something places, 40 places that you can visit that are haunted.
Okay, so we can talk about that now. So when it came to writing this book, because I think I saw this came out last year. I'm trying to remember now. The 22nd of July, which is actually about a week away. So wow. Anyway, so talk to us about that time. Like, what would your experience, especially with your wife Arlene? Like, I know she mainly used to taking the photography and stuff like that for you and stuff like that. But when it came to actually, getting ready to do this, that you were just saying, there's a lot of places to visit. Like, how did you, I guess, like, what did you do to prepare yourself to then, start going to these places?
We started reading history books on it, and we started looking them up. And also, big help is our library, as you can see behind me, that says over 2,000 books on New England history. And some of them are like these travel guides, big, thick travel guides that were written in the 1930s and 40s for each state to tell and they'd have all the roads and where you'd go and everything. It was a federal project, and they'd have all legends and things like that in them, which were really cool. So you got these legends to go by. Some of them were like a couple of paragraphs, like the green, the Oliver House, the Indian Corner in Southern Rhode Island, and they'd have a little thing about it, like, oh yeah, the ghost of some warriors from King Philip's War haunt the big rock corner in Indian Corner Road. That's why it's called it. And they get a little quick story. And so we'd start delving deeper and deeper, as looking into very old newspapers to see if these legends were written anywhere. Then we find some cool legends, and then we'd go visit the places. And the funny thing is, there are a lot of little teeny plaques or notices you drive by every day, wouldn't even think twice of. You just, well, what's that? I don't know, a rock with something on it. And yet it's a notable, really cool place, and it's actually haunted.
Right?
Yeah, so then we started just looking them up, and then where's the battles and why, and then look into the battles and see if there's plaques and on it, and then people would start reading up on it. Oh God, that place is haunted, or people would come out and say, oh yeah, this place is haunted. Yeah, that over there, that plaque over there was a well where 40 people were killed, and people see him by the well trying to draw water. Like, cool. And that kind of thing. So it was a lot of different avenues, and a lot of it was obviously history. And looking into our books, I've got Cotton Mather's book on the King Philip's War, Benjamin Church's book on King Philip's War. And Cotton Mather's book is kind of funny because it's all written in Old English. And then I've got Dodge's book on the soldiers of King Philip's War. They only made 100 copies of that, and it tells a lot of the areas and the massacres. So you start looking into all these things, and then you got to look at, was it plaques? Was it ghosts? Is it haunted?
Right.
And the names. Even, I think Longfellow, he wrote poems on King Philip's War and stuff like that. The famous poets of the 1800s writing stuff and that, and other writers. So it was very old research.
Oh yeah,
that was a lot of fun for me, though. I love looking in those old books and finding that stuff.
Yeah, it's nice when you can find those old books that have like those weird legends in them, like. Last time we talked about the vampires in Vermont and stuff like that, but I think we also mentioned like some of the old books kind of mentioned it in it, like the history of Dummerston talked about the mysterious vine that went grave to grave, and then I think there was even I don't know if we brought it up, I can't remember, but I know we brought up something about like. Oh my God, I'm gonna butcher his name already. Cause I haven't talked about it in a while. But it was the guy from Woodstock. Anyway, he made like a diary about it, and
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. Okay, yeah.
but
Okay,
yeah,
yep, yep.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is like nowadays, though, you don't really get, you don't really see that anymore. I guess is what I'm trying to say. And what you do go
Yeah.
back to the old book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, definitely. It's like, well, you had Whittier writing poems, and like, why did he write a poem of Weedamoo, who, having go doing Maine or something, or up in Massachusetts, when Weedamoo, was down in Rhode Island and somewhat Massachusetts, So we start looking into that, and you look into oh wow, okay, he took the tale of her dying and haunting a place and bringing it up to another area. Romanticism and and yeah, the old books and luckily, like I said, we have so many old books. Every time I see one, I can grab for a good price, and if it's something I want, obviously, I mean, I could you could buy 2 billion old books for no. They'd be
right,
useless. I
right.
wouldn't read them. But I'm looking for New England history and something that's really pertinent to our studies.
You're right. Like, well, this is something different than King Philip's Wall. The wall. What the hell? King
Yeah.
Philip's War. Uh, basically, I think it was like it's been a couple months now, but like I found the original book for like the Vermont Insane Asylum here that we have that from Brattleboro, and I found like the old book of that, and I mean it was kind of pricey, but I mean for what it is and what you hear about it, of course I want it for my collection, so I bought that
Mm.
book. So yeah. So I'm kind of right there with you when it comes to the old book, and yeah, I mean, the price is definitely where it's going to get you sometime for sure.
Yeah, and sometimes you get very lucky. Like the libraries will be having this sale, and you're like, "Oh, I did that one time. Went to a library and they're having a sale, and I see this thing called These Plantations, and I'm like, that's a cool book." But then I remembered why I remembered that name. It's a book on ghost stories of Rhode Island from a guy who used to write articles for the Journal Bulletin in the 30s, and he put them all in a book. And it's the
That's
original
awesome.
copy, and there it was, like $5, and I'm going, you got to be kidding me!
That's a great deal.
Yeah, I practically like grabbed it, hid it in my shirt, grabbed so no one would try and grab it from me on the way out or something.
I hear that. Yeah, we have a few book sales around here, and every now and then I keep finding some interesting stuff. Like I found one on UFOs. I found one that was on Bigfoot. I found one like that's on like the ghost or whatever. But I mean, it's very hit or miss though nowadays for sure. Because
Yeah.
either everybody trying to get into it or something,
It is big. I mean, it's bigger than ever. I guess because the one thing is we got, now we're knowing how deep the ocean is, and we're finding species down there and everything. And we're going past Mars and finding new planets. So what's the only thing totally unknown yet? As of
Right.
yet, it's ghosts. What, when, where, why, and how.
Well, some of the ocean, I guess you could say is still mysterious, but I
Mm,
mean, yes, you are right. Every now and then, we do seem to find some sort of new deep water species that either got washed up or something. So
yeah,
yeah, it's always interesting. Speaking of which, just not to really be off topic, but this kind of reminds me of like now that we just started talking about the ocean. But have you heard the article that's going around about we this like weird new life form that they found from a boat that was docked in Cleveland? It's like a black goo of some sort,
no, I haven't. But I think it started in a movie in the 1950s and 80s called The
right?
Thing.
You called it saying, yeah, or aliens. I
Oh
mean, but
yeah,
yeah,
well, yeah,
you're right.
the black goo was the thing. That's right. Yeah, the goo. Remember with what was his name? God, a young. He was in the 1950s version of it. I can't remember him now. Not Paul Newman. He was in
Oh,
the movie.
yeah, I think I know
Yeah,
what you're talking about.
he was in the movie Le Mans and everything.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't think of it.
yeah,
Yeah, the
but
black and white film. Yeah.
yep, yep. But yeah, I know. I've heard that, and I was reading today where they found this guy saw a fossil in a museum, and he's going, "That looks so familiar." It was a bone fossil of a lizard from 175 million years ago, and then he remembered seeing one just like it in Germany or the Netherlands or something. Germany, yeah. And he went over and they got the fossil, they put it together, and it was the same fossil. In the 1930s, somebody had found it, split it in half, and figured they could make double the money by selling it to two different areas of the world. So they put the fossil together, and they found a whole new species.
That's crazy. I didn't even hear about that one. So
Yeah, I was just reading about it today. I mean, there's just so many different things being found like that. I mean, maybe we'll find a whole new species of ghost.
well, technically, we could find a whole new species of ghost, which, I mean, it's almost like the manifesting part. Like if you
Yeah,
believe something big enough, I guess, for lack of wording here, could it actually come to fruition? So,
yeah. Maybe you
and I,
find maybe you'll find a ghost that like changes his clothes. Like, oh man, he's not seen in a white suit anymore. Now he's got the pinstripe on. Oh, there he is in a t-shirt and shorts.
yeah. I mean, if we can write it up and make people believe it, it could happen.
Yeah, the fashion ghost.
Yeah, the fashion ghost. So I guess going back real quick, Tom, when you go to visit these places, especially like we'll just say here since we're talking about your ghost of King Philip here, but when you've been going to like these places, especially since you are an investigator yourself, are you also trying to see if you can, I don't know, document, capture, try to find anything that would seem out of the norm as well?
Yeah, we actually bring a small thing of equipment. We each have. This is funny. In our cars, we each have a doctor's bag. We call it. It's a small bag with like a recorder and an EMF reader and some other things like that, and a little REM pod, and little video cameras. So we do. We go to the places and maybe we'll see. Maybe something will happen while we're here, maybe something like when we went to where King Philip, the little monument that was put there in the 1800s, where he actually was killed, and way out in the middle of the woods, like we actually had to search for it through brush and crap. And, they're like, oh, wow. And none of these, incidentally, were like underwhelming. Just to find these monuments that nobody knows about or long forgot. We'd stand there for 15 minutes or so, take some pictures, ask some questions, say some things, whatever, and hope so maybe we'll catch something.
Have you actually? I guess this question can go beyond your King Philip too here.
Yeah.
But I guess like since you do that, have you had any success at all, even for your previous project?
Yeah, we actually have before. We actually did. We actually one time we saw with the owner. We saw a shadow of something appear in the corner of a room. Then at the Victorian in Gardner, Mass, we had experiences there. We actually captured an EVP while interviewing him for the book at the Victorian, a very, very loud and, I mean, is undeniable EVP of him saying what the guy used to say, and then the guy repeated it. The ghost of the guy anyway, a spirit or whatever. And yeah, we've had it happen several times, which is kind of cool.
That is pretty cool. Yeah, I like when that happened, when they kind of joined the conversation, I guess. But yeah. I'm just trying to think. Trying to think. I know on your site, diningwiththedead1031.com, you do have some evidence that you post up on there. Not all of it, but as you kind of clarify, even on the page itself, you kind of basically post like the solid pieces. I think is how you describe it. But is there like a way to hear this this EVP that you're talking about?
Yeah, in fact, the EVP is Porteo. I don't remember if it's on the website, but people can email us and say, "Oh, you did something at the Concord Colonial, and do you have any cool stuff? I stayed in room 24, or you did. I'd love to hear the EVP of. They can email us at tomdagostino.com or ramtail1822 at Gmail. Or they can email it diningwiththedead1031 at Gmail and say, I've been to the Victorian. You said you had an EVP. Could we give them out to anyone who wants them? It's not like, well, this is my EVP. You can't have it. we did this to share with the world. That's what we do it for, to share with them. And maybe they'll learn something, or maybe they'll say, hell no, that happened to me too. Great. Now we have a really comparison here with two people with the same thing. So yeah, we love sharing anything we find.
That's awesome. Yeah, maybe if you have that in hand, Tom, maybe I can add that to the little episode here for people can hear that little cool response. If you have it, you can always send it to me afterwards.
Hang on a second.
Portuguese and good luck in Portuguese, of course, is Porteo. The response to Porteo. Portuguese and good luck in Portuguese, of course, is Porteo. The response to Porteo.
Yeah, right there near the end, right?
Yeah, and that was Mark Vo, who was one of the owners of the Victorian a long time ago, and he was telling us about the guy, who actually was. The place was a boarding house in the 60s, and he had room number 4. We were in room number 4 when he's telling us the story, and there's no electricity in the room at the time. And the guy used to go, Porteo, and he'd take a shot of moonshine, but he smoked cigarettes too, and he'd say Porteo, which is a salutation in many languages to all the other boarders. One time he did both, and he blew up. He took moonshine, lit a cigarette, and boom, he kind of spontaneously combusted, and he haunts the room. And Mark actually made a movie called Attack of the Killer Refrigerator.
Oh my God! What?
Well, it was good enough where they made Attack of the Killer Refrigerator 2.
Oh my God! I just found that, and I said, "What are they going to think of next?"
Yep. That's our buddy Mark. He's great. He's got it. Oh my God, he's great.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I just found one too. Now that we're on the weird topic of weird titles, but I just found one. It's a book. I don't know if it's a movie, but it's called Attack of the Killer Squirrel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you gotta.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man!
Well, that's like the movie Poultrygeist instead of Poltergeist.
Poltergeist. Right, the chicken, right, or whatever.
Yeah, the dead chicken, yeah.
Yeah, the dead chicken. Oh my God!
Well, I got to admit, there's a lot of imagination out there.
I mean, there is I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's on YouTube. It's Treevenge. It's like a Christmas tree that is going on a killing spree. Or
yes, I think we saw that.
Oh,
mine did that one time. It fell on me.
It fell on you.
I was sitting in a chair, and all of a sudden I hear crack, and I look up and go, "Whoa!" Boom.
Oh no. Well, at least you're all right then. Jesus Christ. Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah, I keep forgetting sometimes when I'm talking to somebody about if they captured like any EVP. Sometimes they do, and then I usually hear the excuse, "Oh, my computer isn't working right. I don't have the file anymore." It's like, then why are you not backing it up? So yeah. So
yeah, I got them on like USBs and things. That one just happened to be on the desktop, which was great.
Yeah, I think just to be on the safe side, I'll just have you email me it, and I'll just add it to that clip, or in case. But yeah, I think I did hear it near the end of the recording, so I think
you'll hear it. Yeah, say Porteo.
Yeah,
we didn't even know it.
Awesome.
I 3 weeks later, I was listening to the interview so I could put it in the book, and I had to get the book out to the publisher, and I'm listening to it at 2:30 in the morning, trying to write down notes, and all of a sudden I hear, "What the heck was that?"
Nice.
Thing about it is, if people are really interested in it, and it is an amazing and interesting thing, I do tell some of the history. I mean, obviously, to put up the history to 600 pages, but if they want to get the book, they actually, they can go to the places and visit, and you can do like day trips, which is kind of cool. Take like the Bridgewater Triangle for the day. Take like, Rhode Island for the day. Take the area of, more central Mass for the day. Go up to Maine. So it's kind of cool and visit all the things, because it's not only incredible that how many haunted places. I got like 48 of them or something here we found, and then other Indian legends to go along with it. Yeah. But also the history you learn. You start seeing these places and commemoratives, and they tell little stories, and it's like, wow, this was, here. It happened once, and it's amazing.
It is amazing. You know what? Speaking of which, trying to find research and books and basically any type of anything to help you. Just out of curiosity, did any of the natives around Massachusetts, Rhode Island, maybe Maine or whatever, did anybody like any of the natives try to help you out about King Philip?
Actually, yeah, we did. We had people on of all kinds telling us about the history and what happened and things and how they commemorate it now. It's also like the Great Swamp Massacre in Narragansett. Every year they have this big thing, and they have of course, the indigenous people of the area, they go down and they have a thing with some of the reenactors, or descendants of, and then they do the same thing in, I think, Deerfield and in Sudbury. They have all these little things every year where some of these monuments are, where they both get together and they do a thing together in peace and stuff. It's really amazing.
It does
to
sound
show
amazing.
like how far things have come, and also
Oh yeah.
This was a brutal thing that shouldn't have happened on either side, but it did, and now
here we are, kind of making amends for it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know in a perfect world it would be awesome, but we all know history like to repeat itself. So yeah. Hopefully, in this case, let's hope it doesn't repeat itself. But I don't think it will.
No, not in this case. There was no law.
Yeah, exactly. There wasn't any law until
nothing.
Yeah, 1776 or whatever, basically, when the independence came into play. But yeah, I think other than that, I don't think there was really any laws and stuff like that. Yeah, for sure. You know what? Speaking of which, for when it comes to Arlene, I know Arlene's not on to even talk about her work sometimes, but I know you would see them too, Tom, in this case. But when she goes around these places with you and takes the photos or whatever, especially, this would be great too. While doing King Philip here, King Philip. I don't know why I'm thinking it's not right, but anyway, maybe because of my brain is still trying to digest all the history lessons here. Anyway, what I'm trying to get at is when it comes to her photography, has she ever noticed, or even in this case with your Ghost of King Philip, have you guys captured any strange images?
Yes, actually, we have. There was one that was very interesting, and it was in New Hampshire. At Three Chimneys Inn, but it wasn't King Philip's War Ghost. It was haunted New Hampshire, when we were taking a picture of a young woman who haunts the building, and there was a picture of her on a mantle in a glass case. And when Arlene took the picture, we got it developed. And at first, I didn't notice it. And a friend, when we brought it back, I said, "Yes, these are some of the pictures." She goes, "Who's that in the picture?" And I said, "That's the lady who killed himself." The lady who killed herself. She goes, "No, who's that in the picture?" And I look off to the edge, and there's her face, like standing there, but it couldn't have been like anyone there, because Arlene had the camera in her hand, and she was taking a picture of the painting, and I was off to the side where I couldn't reflect, and it's a woman with the same face as the woman in the painting, standing there as if looking at the picture as Arlene's taking the picture.
Okay,
and we were like, holy crap.
Okay, my brain when it comes to investigating, it kind of makes me want to ask. So I know you kind of clarified where you were, but we know sometimes when it comes to painting, well, I already probably know the answer. I just will ask it anyway. But was this painting like I guess framed up behind some sort of glass so that the glass was somehow reflecting her image back from like holding the camera? But I mean, almost making it I don't know,
No,
distorted. I guess.
because she took it straight on, and this person's standing there with their hands down, and you can see it's the same face as the woman in the giant portrait, and she's wearing a whole different clothing like thing, and it's almost like she's looking at Arlene taking the picture.
Like
So
she
it's
wanted
not
to be in the picture.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a corner. If it was going to be Arlene reflecting, you would have seen her with the camera. But
yep,
this is like the woman corner of her face, like the side of her almost like a 3/4 angle. And it's not holding a camera, and it's not Arlene. It's got dark hair. Arlene's blonde, and it has like the pointed chin just in dark hair, just like the woman in the painting, the
that's so
giant portrait.
cool.
And we're like, holy crap, there's no one else, there was no one else there.
I guess she just wanted to be in the picture at that point in time. So that's
Yeah,
awesome too.
we've got a few strange ones though, taking pictures for like the books and stuff. But yeah, she's because we do it all together, so it's kind of cool. And
Exactly. That's
we
the
write
fun
together.
part of it.
Yeah, she edits them. She was an editor for WGBH, so
I'm
she
not
actually
familiar with that. Is that like a newspaper magazine? What is that?
it's the largest television station in the world, actually, Channel 2 out of Boston.
Ah,
Yeah, nonprofit. And she worked there for like 17 years, and so she edits the books before we send them to be edited.
that's awesome.
Yeah, she's a real stickler about that. And so by the time they get it, there's some small stuff, and they're like, "Wow, these things are like almost edited." So yeah,
Right.
Arlene makes sure that my writing is not Rhode Island anymore. my,
I
my,
don't.
my,
I was gonna say I don't know if I catch on to that phrase of what you mean by
well,
that, but that's all right.
well, like we would say, well, we ain't not from Rhode Island.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that instead of no, we're not from Rhode Island. We ain't not from Rhode Island.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
What was I gonna say too? Oh, you mentioned to that when you're taking the pictures, you went back to develop them. Now, does Darlene actually take like actual like photos, like film, or is it digital?
we used to take we used to take 35 millimeters and have them develop, and that's how we even got like some strange stuff. And she used to actually do her own developing. She was a wedding photographer also, and a photographer like a photographer for schools. So we
Yep.
actually have a dark room downstairs that we don't use anymore. But now she uses the SLRs, digital SLRs, which is you have to you have to focus them in and everything. Those are very expensive ones. That they take the digital picture so you can see it right away. However, they don't autofocus or anything like you can't like your phones would. So you're not going to get like dust spots that would seem like orbs or anything. The
Huh.
digital SLR cameras are very expensive, and they're the medium between. So you have to actually focus everything in and get all the right lighting and all that kind of stuff, where she's all a pro at, and
Right.
then you take the picture and you can see the picture right away.
That's crazy. Yeah. So in a way, it's like it's digital, but at the same time, you got to make it the way
Yeah,
you want it.
it's a manual digital camera.
Yeah. That requires a little bit more handiwork, apparently.
Are you kidding? She's like, oh, this is the golden hour and this is the blue hour, and I'm like, yeah, right. What
Yeah,
but just by
whatever that
looking.
means.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, okay. Does that mean I'm going to go get a beer or something? I don't.
Hey, that sounds
Yeah,
good right about
but
now.
she knows. Yeah, she can just see things like that. Like, and then she, oh, wait a minute, the exposure, click, 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 boom. Whoa. It looked great to me before.
Right.
Yeah,
All right,
she's
Tom. Yeah. Yeah, I think that covers King Philip for now. I don't think
they
so.
are
We covered,
among the oldest ghosts in America.
they are one of the oldest ghosts.
Yeah, they are among the oldest ghosts in America
Oh
around the
yeah, yeah, yeah,
1670s.
yeah, yeah. It makes me wonder what is considered to be the oldest ghost in America. I know
Probably a
the
dinosaur, but
yeah, because I think it was Maine was considered the oldest first ever like ghost documented or something like that. But I think it was
Nellie
Maine. But
Butler,
yeah,
Sullivan, Maine,
yes,
1799 to 1801.
1799. Oh my God.
Yeah, in the House of Abner Blaisdell. Yeah.
Yeah, what a crazy way. You just in case people haven't heard your appearance here with me for the last two times. You and your wife do this thing called Dining with the Dead 1031, which obviously 1031 is Halloween, stuff like that. You just had your recent investigation done. I guess for those that may not know your work here, what is Dining with the Dead?
Oh, it is. Dining with the Dead is an interactive paranormal investigation events, and we do them in some of the most haunted places in New England, and like the Hawthorne Hotel in Salem, the Colonial Inn in Concord, where the shot heard round the world was, and the Public House in Sturbridge, the Tavern on Main in Chepachet, the Carriage Inn in Chepachet, Rhode Island, in North Kingston realm. And what happens is we sell tickets on to our site and to Eventbrite, and limited seating. We don't do a lot of tickets because we want then the people break into groups. We go. We do giveaways, and then we have a buffet or dinner, nice buffet, or they can eat really good food. And then we go over some of the equipment, we break into groups, and each group investigates one of the areas in turn. And then when they're all done investigating, we go over all the evidence and we send it out to everybody. But you're using the equipment, and we have stuff like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment that the investigators can use. You are an actual investigator for the night with up to, I think, $10,000 worth of equipment that we're working with. And, you're the one, hey, you ask the questions, you do this, we give a little handout that tells you some of the haunts and history of the place. And you can get it on diningwiththedead1031.com on the website, and you can see more about it. But we've been doing it since 2007. And wow, these places, we do it in our haunted, the top haunted places, some of the most haunted in the country. Some were rated number 1, number 2, number 4. So they're places you'd never be able to get in. And if you even got in, you'd never be able to do these rooms and areas that they give us.
Oh, because it's not acceptable for the public. Yeah, I think that's
right.
Yeah,
right.
I love those. Those are the best areas ever.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right, Tom. Well, again, it was a pleasure to talk to you about the ghost of King Philip. Hopefully, it was enjoyable for those. But I mean, I think I just got a history lesson along with some of the ghost accounts that you hear that still goes on with some of these places. As you said, there's a lot of places. So, but I guess before I do let you go, one last thing I usually like to ask people is, so what's your upcoming project? And especially now with Dining with the Dead, is there any upcoming events that are being in the works, I guess?
We're going to be booking, actually, we're going to be booking for the end of August. We usually take July and the beginning of August off. July, everybody's vacationing. In August, they're vacationing. So we take it off so we can have a little time, too, to collect. And in September, October, and going into November, we're going to be at all those places. The Hawthorne Hotel, the Colonial Inn in Concord, Mass., the Public House in Sturbridge, the Carriage Inn in North Kingston, the Tavern on Main in Chepachet, this Sunday, we're going to be filming the last episode of Doc Echo's Paranormal with Matt Kondracki. He's the producer and creator of the show. We're on several episodes. It's on Amazon Prime in Paraflix, and it is a reality show. In other words, we go in, and there's no script, going with the equipment. We're investigating. In some cases, the microphone falls off. You see us pick it back up, put it back on. You'll hear people swearing, that kind of thing. There's no script. This is happening right live. You're watching it live. If something happens, it happens. Nothing happens, nothing happens. There's no one saying, hey, look over there and go, oh my God, what was that, or anything like that. No tricks, no nothing. It is a reality show.
So in other words,
yeah, it's on Amazon Prime, and it's number one show in Great Britain right now, and way up there in Japan, and we'll be streaming live to Japan for this one. Yeah,
that's going to be a fun time for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because in some of the some of the countries where they have to censor it a little bit, they'll tell Matt, please don't swear again like that, because he'll go, what the, and in England, they'll say, oh, we can keep that, and someone else, no, you have to bleep that out.
I was going to say, even when you're streaming or whatever, there's nobody there just in case they got to bleep you out right on the spot.
No, it's live. That's it, man. You're there.
Oh, boy.
I think there's one of Arlene. Oh, no, it happened before the camera started. We wanted to show the place, and there was a fly strip hanging down, and Arlene almost walked into it, and and had all the flies. And it was like, oh, man, if she had walked into that and this was live show, they would have been like, ah! Right? The screaming would be real. Yeah. So, they'll see spider webs like, whoa, what the heck was that? It's live.
Oh, geez. Well, all right, Tom. Well, I guess on that note, for everybody else, too, Ghost of King Philip here by Thomas D'Agostino and his lovely wife, Arlene Nicholson, is available right now on paperback, and you can get it pretty much at any bookstore, Arcadia Publishing, through Dining with the Dead, through Tom. And they even personalize their books and stuff like that. So, you can get the book anywhere. So, yeah. And then on that note, I guess for everybody, like we usually say, just keep your eyes open, because you just never know if an apparition's going to appear in front of you. In this case, go out there and explore and have your own adventure and see what happened to you and report it back to us, because we like to hear them.